If we do not move swiftly to sign the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act into law, an economy that is already in crisis will be faced with catastrophe. This is not my assessment. This is not Nancy Pelosi's assessment. This is the assessment of the best economists in the country. This is the assessment of some of the former advisors of some of the same folks who are making these criticisms right now. Millions more Americans will lose their jobs. Homes will be lost. Families will go without health care. Our crippling dependence on foreign oil will continue. That is the price of inaction. This isn't some abstract debate. Last week we learned that many of America's largest corporations already laid off thousands and are planning to lay off tens of thousands of more workers. Today, we learned that in the previous week, the number of new unemployment claims jumped to 626,000. Tomorrow, we're expecting another dismal jobs report on top of the 500,000 jobs that were lost last month, on top of the 500,000 jobs that were lost the month before that, on top of the 2.6 million jobs that were lost last year. Now, for you, these aren't just statistics. This is not a game. This is not a contest for who's in power and who's up and who's down. These are your constituents. These are families you know and you care about. And I believe that it is important for us to set aside some of the gamesmanship in this town and get something done. Now, I believe... I just want to repeat, because I don't want any confusion here. I believe that legislation of this enormous magnitude, that by necessity we are moving quickly. We're not moving quickly because we're trying to jam something down people's throats. We're moving quickly because we're told that if we don't move quickly, that the economy is going to keep on getting worse. We'll have another 2 or 3 or 4 million jobs lost this year. I'd love to be leisurely about this. My staff is worn out, working around the clock. So is David Obey's staff. So is Nancy Pelosi's staff. We're not doing this because we think this is a lark. We're doing this because people are counting on us. So legislation of this magnitude deserves the scrutiny that it's received. And all of you will get another chance to vote for this bill in the days to come. But I urge all of us not to make the perfect the enemy of the absolutely necessary. Understand, the scale and the scope of this plan is right. And when you start hearing arguments on the cable chatter, just understand a couple of things. Number one, when they say, well, why are we spending $800 billion? We've got this huge deficit. First of all, I found this deficit when I showed up. Number one. I found this national debt doubled, wrapped in a big bow waiting for me as I stepped into the Oval Office. Number two, it is expected that we are going to lose about $1 trillion worth of demand this year, $1 trillion of demand next year because of the contraction of the economy. So the reason that this has to be big is to try to fill some of that lost demand. And as it is, there are many who think that we should be doing even more. So we are taking prudent steps. But you talk to Ted Strickland and what's happening in Ohio, and you ask him whether they need some relief in terms of the unemployment insurance rates that are going sky high, and him having to pick up all kinds of folks who are suddenly seeking food stamps who had been working all their lives. And he'll tell you that this is not something that we're just doing to grow government. We're doing this because this is what the best minds tell us needs to be done. That's point number one. Point number two, when they start talking about, well, we need more tax cuts. We started this package with a healthy amount of tax cuts in the mix, recognizing that some tax cuts can be very beneficial, particularly if they're going to middle class and working families that will spend that money. That's not me talking. That's the economists talking, who insisted that they're most likely to spend and get that money into circulation and stimulate the economy. Now, in fact, when we announced the bill, you remember, this is only about, 2 weeks ago? When we announced the framework, and we were complimented by Republicans saying, boy, this is a balanced package. We're pleasantly surprised. And suddenly, what was a balanced package needs to be put out of balance? Don't buy those arguments. Then there's the argument, well, this is full of pet projects. When was the last time that we saw a bill of this magnitude move out with no earmarks in it? Not one. And when you start asking, well, what is it exactly that is such a problem that you're seeing? Where's all this waste and spending? Well, you want to replace the federal fleet with hybrid cars. Well, why wouldn't we want to do that? That creates jobs for people who make those cars. It saves the federal government energy. It saves the taxpayers energy. So, well, then you get the argument, well, this is not a stimulus bill, this is a spending bill. What do you think a stimulus is? That's the whole point. No, seriously. That's the point. So, let me not get carried away here. We've got to leave some time for questions and answers. Here's the point I'm making. This package is not going to be absolutely perfect, and you can knit and you can pick, and that's the game that we all play here. We know how to play that game. What I'm saying is, now we can't afford to play that game. We've got to pull together. There are going to be some things that don't get included that each of us would like to see included. All of us are going to have to make some sacrifices. And we have to accommodate the interests of a range of people. And the House is going to have to work with the Senate. But let's think big right now. Let's not think small. Let's not think narrowly. Just as past generations of Americans have done in trying times, we can and must turn this moment of challenge into one of opportunity. The plan that you've passed has at its core a simple idea. Let's put Americans to work doing the work that America needs done. So this plan will save or create over 3 million jobs, almost all of them in the private sector. This plan will put people to work rebuilding our crumbling roads and bridges, our dangerously deficient dams and levees. This plan will put people to work modernizing our health care system. That doesn't just save us billions of dollars, it saves countless lives because we'll reduce medical errors. This plan will put people to work renovating more than 10,000 schools, giving millions of children the chance to learn in 21st century classrooms and libraries and labs, creating new scientists for a new future. This plan will provide sensible tax relief for the struggling middle class and unemployment insurance and continued health care coverage for those who've lost their jobs, and it will help prevent our states and local communities. It'll help Governor Ritter and Governor Strickland not have to lay off firefighters and teachers and police, because when they get laid off, not only do we lose services, but maybe they can't make payments on their home, maybe they get foreclosed on and the economy goes down further. And finally, this plan will begin to end the tyranny of oil in our time. Doubles our capacity to generate alternative sources of energy, like wind and solar and biofuels. And it does it in 3 years. Saves taxpayers billions of dollars. Makes federal buildings more efficient. Saves the average working family hundreds of dollars on their energy bills.